Hello, folks. Hello once again. This is Vimal here from GDG Cloud Toronto. Many of you may know me who are from GDG community. Many of the folks who have joined us through Neural Hacks might not know us, and we will be talking about us, Neural Hacks, everything. Um, I welcome you all in today's session. It's a Saturday, and we are joining through different time zones. Uh, it's always difficult to find a suitable time when we want to have a session like this, which runs through globally, and people are joining us from India, some of the folks from North America, from other geographies as well. And this is an immense opportunity for us to collaborate together and work towards learning technology. Um, Many of you might know exactly what the agenda of the day is. Some of you who do not, we will be talking about that. But before we progress further, let me talk a little bit about uh, Neural Hacks, which is one of the largest student-run AI hackathon community in the world, which is connecting nearly 500 participants from all around the globe and is growing. I don't want to say a lot more about Neural Hacks. It's something you must have came across through social media from different channels. I would like to invite Krishnansu to talk more about Neural Hacks, what it does, what are the plans are, and then we'll progress further towards the agenda of the day. So, Krishnansu, over to you.
Hey Vimal, thank you so much for the kind introduction. And welcome everyone to the GDG Cloud Toronto and Neural Hacks workshop, presenting the introduction to Google Cloud. From our side at Neural Hacks, we're so excited to host this workshop with GDG Cloud Toronto. For those who are not aware, Neural Hacks is one of the largest student-run hackathons in the world, and we're connecting nearly 500 people from all across the globe. And our event is hosting several different workshops to help students from different educational standings and interests to learn about advanced concepts in artificial intelligence and just general industry skills to better themselves and their own future endeavors. The event is bringing in almost $60,000 in sponsorships and corporate sponsorships, such as this one with Google Cloud. And we're so happy to present the whole event to you. And now we're going to let Google Cloud Toronto take over and host the workshop. So thank you so much.
Uh, Thanks, Krish, for introducing Neural Hacks to our participants. Before I begin at this point, I will love to ask you guys if you are able to hear me well, the voice is clear, you want me to be fast or slow. So you can just text on the message. As a house rule around this virtual session where we will be we eventually we are going to be some hundred of participants speaking all together may create a chaos, so let's stick to some house rules around that. Let's use our chat. Yeah, and at times when we ask and we feel that it is feasible, we will allow you to speak as well. If there's a question, we will be letting you know how we will interact with each other when we all are trying to collaborate in this digital strategy in the virtual environment together. We have to figure out the most feasible way where we talk to each other while disturbing or interrupting each other. All right, so I give the feedback that voice is clear, pace is fine. Okay, so we'll move forward with who we are. We'll tell a little bit about ourselves and we'll further move towards our actual agenda. That's the tech side of it. So stay tuned. Well, we are official chapter of Google's GDG platform. What GDG stands for is Google Developers Group, and but it operates as an independent group. There are 1,000+ chapters throughout the globe. We are here based in Toronto, and we are one of them. Our activities and opinions expressed here would be no way linked to Google, the corporation, or for that matter, even the alphabet INC. We are affiliated to Google. They are our technology partners. They facilitate us so many things. We have brought to you this platform. Most of the time, it is free of cost for students and early learners. We are able to do this with collaboration with Google, but our opinions and what we say here are completely ours. We are not employees of Google. We are an affiliate working with them. We have our official website. We are across social media channels, which also will be posted on the channel on the chat, so that if you want, you can connect to us. You may have came through Meetup, and you must be RSVP'd on Meetup community here. And I have this QR code, which I will hold for a few seconds, so that you can scan through your mobile browser, and you can join us over there, because all resources will be shared via this page. You would be sharing some subscription code, which is worth the value of $5 USD. And every information, every channel has to go via this page, which will be our not only tracking page, but also a source for you to get our resources. On Twitter, you can follow us on GDG Cloud Toronto. I mean, you will find us on Instagram and Facebook as well. The links will be shared. All right. So this is how we were initially when we started back in 2019. We started with few folks, and eventually we grew into like 2,100 members in 1 year. In spite of pandemic, right now we stand around somewhere 2,600 in number, with around similar number following us in on LinkedIn. And this is our sizable community where which just in a common phase whom we can interact and talk, and we can involve in activities that we do. We will talk more about our community. So precisely, we are official chapter of Google, but we operate as an independent group. Our motto is to nourish passion for technology. Our motto is to also support women in tech, and this is one focus area for us, and there are reasons for that. We will talk in certain slides and certain pages around a specific need for talking about women in tech. All right, so what happened in 2019 is more than 1,000 participants has earned their completion certificates from us. We also run workshops which leads to completion certificates. We have Google has selected our study jam for showcasing study jam across North America. We would be sharing that particular promotional video as well. We are planning to have a 2020 Dev Fest, and hopefully we would be collaborating again with Neural Hacks while we do it. It was initially planned in mid of the year, but because of COVID, we have postponed it, and we are moving it to end of the year. Dates and details will be shared soon, and we expect more than 1,000 participants and many companies coming up together and bringing technology at under one roof. Our social media outreach is expected to reach out to more than 100,000 people in this year. And we are collaborating with many colleges already, and we have plans to collaborate with more educational organizations throughout the globe. Okay, who are our supporting partners? Our prominent venue sponsor in Toronto is George Brown College. START GDC is one of the department which calculates trainings around entrepreneurship, facilitates seed funding, and a number of other steps. Neural Hacks, we are working together as part of this event, and hopefully we'll keep working with Neural Hacks in future activities and events as well. And of course, Google Developers Community, who is our technology partner, as well as a sponsor in many sense. Whenever it comes to Google resources, we get it directly from them. And what we do cloud info session. Basically, that is cloud computing, cloud onboarding, cloud study jams, DevFest, Code Labs, and Women in Tech event. Today's session is primarily focused on cloud onboarding and a little bit of study jam. We will not do the complete study jam. Our bandwidth and scope of this event is not generally takes a full day event just to do a study jam, the smallest of it, which is a completely hands-on workshop. But we will definitely touch base with you in certain labs so that you get familiar with the environment. And if you wish, you can go ahead and complete it yourself, or you can participate in our future events. So that so what we are going to basically bring to you is the idea of cloud computing, and you will see whether you are aligned to this technology or not. Will it help in your career or your professional growth or not? So we will talk more about that as well. This is how our typical workshops looks like. because of COVID, we all are doing things virtually. However, if it was not a COVID situation, right now we would be doing a workshop like this. So far, we have done workshop where the number of participants we had was around 300, and that limitation comes from the sizable classrooms, because we do not find so far we have not found a classroom in North America which has sitting capacity of more than 300 folks. We have auditorium, but in our workshop, what is intended is more like a classroom style, who can look at the projector, who can look at the codes, and while they work on it. We can have an auditorium with 10,000 people capacity, but we really do not have a classroom where more than 250 or 300 people can sit together. But eventually we have plans to do parallel sessions in different classrooms, and which with that method we will increase our size in terms of our community activity. All right, many folks got certified. Generally, we start on a Saturday morning, and by evening, we plan that everybody should get that certificate of completion, which is a sense of accomplishment for the day that you have invested. So that is how a typical end of the day looks for us when people get the certificates, and we get a group photo and things like that. We have a consistent rating in Meetup with 4.4 or more. And who is our audience generally? Of course, the students who are also learners. Students could be high school students, or they can be early engineering students. Many of them are in middle of their advanced courses as well. Apart from that, we have startup companies coming up and joining our events. When I say startup companies, basically they come with their own employees. And there are reasons why they come. It took us time to understand why startup companies are joining us. Then we have technology professionals working in Java, working in PHP, Python, whatnot, and they join us in our events because there is no limit to keep learning and keep upskilling oneself. One may be working in certain area of technology, but may be interested to know what is the most latest technology and how it can help them grow in their career. Then we have non-technology professionals. We have seen lawyers, writers, sales professional, marketing guys. They're all coming into the event, and one may find it interesting that why such a diverse audience is interested in an event like this. Uh, Particularly for non-technology folks, we try to understand what's their area of interest, and it makes sense to say this. 20 years back, even MS Office, MS Word, MS Excel was considered as a tech thing, and now everybody uses it. You cannot say it's a technology thing, so a doctor will not use it. One has to. It's one of the very basic skill that one can possess. Same is going to happen to our current high-tech technology. So one has to upgrade themselves with time before it becomes mandatory for you to learn, and you are not left with a choice. So many folks are certainly front runners in this case. They tend to attend this session, upskill themselves. And also, if you want to take a decision whether in future you want to learn cloud computing, machine learning, AI or not, you need to get a flavor of it, because you don't want to invest a lot of money and time and then realize, no, this was not my thing. So whether you take a decision or not, you need to understand the basic idea around these technologies so that you can take a learned decision. Some of the graphs showing our past success in terms of how much RSVP we get, how much members we have. It's still old. It is from like early 2020. It's yet to be upgraded. Okay, so what's our ambition? We want to be the largest technology group where people can express themselves, learn technology, and exchange ideas together. What we do is not a lecture session. We do not do a typical classroom session. We collaborate together. We do more like a very big group study. 200 people coming together who don't know each other, suddenly coming together, studying together, and by evening they finish it together. That's our idea that we propose. It's more than us tutoring, which is not the case. We are the facilitator who will bring you everything right so that you are in a position to learn it. And of course, our focus area is a stage toward women in tech. There are regions, less than 25% of women community are there in workforce when it comes to technology. We definitely want to understand whether it is happening organically or there are some showstoppers or blockers for them. If it is happening organically, that's fine. But if there's a blocker, we need to work towards it because we coexist. You can find us everywhere on social media. You have your link. It will be shared as well. I will not spend time on this page at the moment. And we will move towards introduction to like cloud computing. By name itself, you may have known that we will primarily talk about cloud computing, which encompasses many other technologies like machine learning, like AI, IoT, BigQuery, and many more, which we will talk in our coming workshops. Today, we will primarily stay focused on cloud computing. We will only touch base with the basic concepts and the basic idea. We will give you a platform where you can learn it further, you can practice it further, and if needed, you can join our future events for those intermediate and advanced level of sessions. So what is basically cloud? From where it came from? Is it a new technology? Before I talk more about it, I would like to ask you guys, and you can reply me through chat, how old do you think this cloud computing technology is? You can tell me 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 200 years, whatsoever, whatever comes to your mind. You can let me know through your chat. What do you think? How old this technology is? All right, good. All right. So I do see interesting answers. Like many of you are giving me some like number of years. Many of you are telling me the particular year since when it started, and you all may have good reasons to say that. I will not say that any of the answer you are saying is is basically uh, mm, wrong answer in a sense, because you are saying based on a certain information you had in your mind and you have a reason to say a particular date. So yes, you can see a note from our GDG team is the notation of this cloud based, network based computing. It goes to 1960, and many believe the first use of cloud computing is in modern context started in August 9. uh, so this is typical. This cloud technology is not a new technology in many sense, but the infrastructure stopped talking about it for a while. The idea was old. Rather, if you remember, I'm not sure how many of you had an exposure to the architectural diagram that used to exist 20 years back, or even if you are a young high school guy right now, if you got a chance to see how the old architecture diagram used to look like. Previously, when we used to display our network mesh, we have your like organization talking to another organization. In between, you don't want to get into the detail of the network. You will just build a mesh of a scribbling which looks like a cloud like appearance. That was basically, it's said that that was basically taken as an idea of the particular term cloud. But what happened in 2006 is the then Google CEO, Eric, he spoke this term in a big global conference. Now, since he was a Google CEO and he spoke in a global conference, that word was very pretty much catched up after that. However, it is still debatable whether he coined the word or he used it while it was still in visualization of technology back then. So it is just for our understanding that when it started, but more important is what's happening right now and how we can define that. So the simplest term, if we have to define, we can say that it is a means of storing and accessing data and programs over internet instead of our computer hard drive. At the same time, when I say that, I would like to say my statement here is not only incomplete, but also in a certain sense, it is inaccurate, because this is not all. This is just one tip of the iceberg, we can say, when we are defining cloud computing. We are using this word here for the metaphor for internet. In some way, that's true. And we will talk about the details in a while. So basically what cloud computing provides is a simple way of accessing servers, storage, databases, and broad set of application services over the internet. It also helps us to save substantial capital cost, and I would like to add the operational cost as well, uh, without spending the in-house server storage and application need. And who it is for? Literally, it is for everybody. Everybody in the room here right now, who may or may not have heard the word cloud computing, but 100% sure that you all have used it, whether you know it or not. If you have used, if you have watched movies on Netflix, even the YouTube or the G Suite that you're using, or even if you have done something like what's the weather today, or a calculation, not sure how many of you have a calculator app installed in your laptop in today's world. Rather, you prefer to go to the browser, the Chrome browser, just type your whatever mathematics equation you want to calculate. It gives you the result. Everything is an example of cloud computing in one sense. Now, many of us confuse cloud computing with the web application, like is a website. Is it we are accessing information on a website through internet? Is it a cloud computing concept? Actually, no. And there is a reason why it is a no, and that is where the details of the cloud computing comes into picture. Simply by accessing and storing data and computing through internet doesn't make it cloud computing. That is true for cloud computing, but is not complete. So in the same slide, when I say in the simplest term, cloud computing means storing and accessing data and programs over the internet is true, but as I said, it is incomplete, and in certain sense, it can also be said inaccurate. So we'll move forward and see what's the more accurate definition of it. Before we do that, let's also keep in mind the key players and their platforms and a high level when it comes to cloud computing. And I will say again, this list is not complete because this is an evolving list. You will always have new players coming in the market and the old one settling their way down, and it keeps reshuffling. But for a while, AWS, which is Amazon's web service, Azure, which comes from Microsoft, IBM, and Google Cloud Platform happens to be the prominent clouds. Rather, Google came late in this market. And I would like to you all to keep in mind the term Gartner's report. If you get a chance, search for Gartner's report, which I personally and probably many folks throughout the globe find it more reliable and reasonable to understand which is a global leader in terms of what technology and what path they have followed. That's a recommended name, Gartner's report. Apart from that, we have many other players like VMware, DigitalOcean, and the list could now go to thousands of more folks. These are just examples quoted here. Of recent, you may have heard of Alibaba Cloud, which is coming very fast. We all know for the all obvious reason, they will also get a place in the market. They will bring it and cut down the cost by a lot. Some of us may complain about the compromise on data security and stuff like that, but eventually we will see Alibaba as well. At the moment, we have not kept in the list. That's pretty much new. We are still watching where and when we include that in our presentations. All right. So what are the different types of cloud? When it comes to cloud computing, you will hear certain terms and we all want to be familiar about SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. SaaS is nothing but your software as a service. PaaS is platform as a service. And IaaS is infrastructure as a service, my favorite. But we'll start with SaaS. Uh, you all have used SaaS. You all have used software as a service. Even if you used to if you are a Photoshop guy and right now you are in front of a computer where it's not installed, you know that you have many online versions right now where you can do a sketching, painting, all those editing that you can do. Probably it will not be as effective as the Photoshop app installed in your machine, but still it serves the purpose in a way and it's still evolving. These all are example of SaaS. Now when you go for a software, most of the time it doesn't necessarily ask you to install it. You are able to browse it through browser, like the Zoom link. You could have installed the Zoom and you could have used it for your purpose. However, it also gives you an option to join through browser. I very well understand many of you may
இந்த
not have
கதை
installed this
சீக்கிரம்
Zoom
நம்ம
app.
எல்லாம் வாங்கிட்டு வரோம்.
Many of you may have not installed the Zoom app, rather you may have used it through the browser. So this is the facility coming via internet, and that is
ஓ,
the
இப்படி
cloud
கையை இப்படி
platform.
பிடிச்சுக்கிறியாமா?
I will take a pause because looks like somebody is unmute. All right. Thanks for muting the audience. And at this point, I would definitely like to say to maintain the continuous delivery, we have to make sure that we are at mute all the time. And as and when it would be needed, we can always speak. So we need to maintain this so that we have a flawless interaction between us. Okay, so we were talking about SaaS, and I just said that all of you have used SaaS, whether you know it or not. If you have used Google Docs, which you have, if you have used Gmail, you must have. You may or may not have used Salesforce. You will be using some of the Google products today, which is basically a SaaS product, which is software as a service. You are not installing in your local machine, rather you are accessing it via internet, and browser is the face and the terminal for you to use that. Platform as a service. It's more useful and needed for the developers. You want to code, now you don't want to install that framework on your machine. Like any of you who have been a developer as a learner or as a professional, probably you must have installed many apps, including C or C++. There was time we used to install it, or still you can install it, or .NET framework, or anything that you want to code on the platform to code. But the cloud technology gives you a leverage where you don't necessarily have to install in your machine, rather you can use it directly on the platform. You can just concentrate on coding rather than installing and maintaining it in your server. There are pros and cons, which is a matter of discussion, but as a matter of fact, as a developer, you want to use a platform as a service, and there's a lot of variety that is available. Now comes my favorite, for which basically cloud computing has taken its shape, and that's again my thought. You can always disagree with me with reason. Uh, so what it is. So basically, these all things were in mind of corporates, industries for a while, but it's only when infrastructure related benefits came, people started investing into that, because it costs millions and sometimes billions for an organization to build a system that works, a system that serves the purpose. And if there is any ease or cost optimization in that area, they take the courage to shift their technology. We all were kind of okay to install the software. We all were kind of okay to use it the way it was. We would not have invested a lot of money into the technology for something which does not have a direct impact on revenue or some kind of cost obligation. But it was that's again my feeling. It was only when infrastructure came into a picture, which was a huge cost for organization, and when they were told that they can actually bring down this cost to a great level with a lot of flexibility, they chose for it. When they chose for it, that means they invested in it, and when they invested, it started evolving. The major problem with older way of installing a software was the piracy. Like companies were struggling to stop piracy by many ways, because they give you a software, you install it, you give it to your friend, he installs it, and literally we have seen cases where millions of people were using certain applications of the software without paying for it. That was the question. Okay, I can see a hand getting raised. At this note, I will ask one of my volunteers to post a support sheet where you can post your questions, and somebody from our team will answer that. And that applies to everybody. If you get a question in your mind, you will get a link to a support sheet which has a format where you can post your questions, which will also become a repository of our questions. Thanks, Santosh. Okay. So we will talk and focus more about IaaS as well in coming slides. We talked about the types of cloud computing. Let's also talk about the cloud deployment model in terms of how industry has adopted it. So you may have heard the names like public cloud, private cloud, community cloud, hybrid cloud. And actually, there are more versions of cloud deployment models which are adopted. It's evolving. People are coming up with new name, with new definition. but prominently for many decades, these names has stayed in our minds. And I would like to give you some metaphor and like to use some analogy to explain this so that you can correlate this concept. Those you know, it's perfectly all right. For those who have not heard about these names, let me quote some analogy here. Let's compare this complete deployment model with our transit system. How do you commute? How do you transit in a city? You have got buses, trains, streetcars, cabs, your own personal vehicles, whatnot. This could be a different model for you to commute. Let's compare public cloud with a public transit. What happens when you go from point A to point B using your train? You buy a ticket. That ticket, if you are in, say, for example, if you are in India, probably it gives you access from point A to point B. If you are in Toronto, probably if you are having a local commute, you get 2 hours of time slot. And I guess it works for many other cities in North America, where you get a 2 hours or few hours of time slot. And in that time slot, you can travel anytime. Even in many parts of the world, you have concept of getting a pass, a day pass, or an hour pass, or a weekly pass, or a monthly pass. Whatever you buy, you get access to that particular commute for a certain number of time or a certain number of to and fro communication. You do not worry who is paying money to the driver. You do not worry about the fuel that will be used. You do not worry about the vehicle and its maintenance. You do not worry about literally anything that is related to the cost or the risk with making that community work. But you definitely uh, think about what cost I'm paying. Just give me a second. All right. So, so we were talking about the public cloud, which we were trying to compare with our public transit system. You pay the money, you get certain facilities, you use it, you share your space with your co-passenger. You do not choose exactly where you will sit. Of course, in railway reservation you do that, but still it is being given to you to choose. And then once your transit is done, once your pass validity is over, it's all done. You don't owe anything to them, and neither there is any other obligation. That is something like your public cloud. When it comes to private cloud, it's more like you having your own car. When you buy a car, you pay money for it. You pay insurance. You either drive it or you hire somebody driver to drive it. You buy the fuel, you buy the insurance, you do the maintenance, you do everything. But at the same time, this car stays at your doorsteps. It's all for you. You can go whenever you want, wherever you want. Nobody will restrict you on that purpose. Of course, the regulations, I'm not talking the regulations, but in terms of ownership, you own it completely. You have paid complete money for it. You own it. Similarly, in the cloud world, you can have your private cloud, which you can own it. You will pay a lot of money for the private cloud. You will not share it with anybody, but you are going to pay a lot of money. But it's going to be costly. Public cloud is going to be cheaper. uh, Same like going through bus and train can be cheaper. Having a car can be costlier, costly investment. So some of us are not comfortable with sharing our space. At the same time, we are not comfortable uh, spending a lot of money. So we can come up with an idea which we call as carpooling. I'm not okay to travel with anybody, or as a person, I'm not okay if my family member to travel with anybody in a public transit, but I'm okay if my friend is going in the same direction, if they can share and call it like carpooling. People do a lot of carpooling for offices. People do a lot of carpooling when they plan a trip for a vacation. So this is the concept similar to the community cloud, where organizations are not comfortable to share their space in the public cloud with unknown folks, and they think it could be a potential threat to their data security and other aspects. At the same time, they are not willing to spend their fortune money on private cloud. Rather, they try to come up with trusted folks in their area and get that private cloud and share their space. So basically, what community cloud will do, more than one organizations will come together, and they are the only one who will get a kind of private cloud structure. Inside, they will further segregate. They are happy, they trust each other, they are okay to share that space. That is the concept of getting a community cloud. They bring down the cost, and they take a noted um, accepted risk around security if they have one. There's one more concept that is called hybrid cloud. It's like you may have your car, but you do not go by car all the time. You go to office through public transit, by train, buses. But when you go on a vacation, when you go on a marriage function, or when you go on a certain event where you don't want you and your family to get into the troubles of public transport, you basically choose to go by your own car. You have a car, but you don't go use it for every purpose. Same way, many organizations have some security sensitive information, and some information which they're okay, and that's not that much worried about. So for those organizations, what they do is they segregate, they make understanding what kind of information is very important for them, and which ones are a little less important for them. And based on that, they get a small private cloud, while rest all other information can stay on the public cloud. They're okay with those information, because even if some threat is there, it won't impact them much. But the sensitive information, the sensitive data, particularly in banks, healthcare, criminal agencies, they have a lot of sensitive information, and in no situation that should be compromised with, they will try to put it into a private cloud structure. So these are four different deployment models which are well known. But at the same time, I encourage you all to go ahead and see what else is happening in the world, what all new deployment model are being spoken about, and you will find a lot of names with interesting definition. Okay, what does cloud platform offers? It offers a lot of things. At the end of the slide, almost I will show you quite a list, which will take you more than 30 minutes just to read through each of them. But broadly, there are some areas, and also we are not going to cover all the area today, but some of the concept, like cloud computing being cost effective. First of all, it is debatable. Some people say, no, it's not cost effective. I would say it depends how you use, what your needs are. In certain situations, it may not be cost effective. In many other situations, it can be cost effective. But the understanding of when and when not is important. Scalability we'll talk more. It's very important here. Custom machine times, Internet of Things, the concept of being serverless, cloud AI, which is artificial intelligence, big data analytics, API platform, and ecosystem. These are a few of the key terms which is put across here. We will definitely talk about scalability, which was one of the very idea why cloud computing is being spoken about, is taking its own pace. One of the most common challenges that industry had was elasticity and scalability. Both have a little bit of different meaning. We will talk about scalability here. Say for example, you are a company, you could operate in any of the domain, and you don't know how your business is going to run, right? And you make infrastructure with say 10 computers, uh, you know all connected together with all your application and details. uh, but eventually you realize that no, your business is growing a lot, and you want to increase it. Now, what are you going to do to those old computers? You can add on top of it. At times, you have to disregard it because it's not up to the performance that you wanted. You need more capacity. It was always a challenge how to get rid of your existing logistics and bring new logistics all the time, while your business can be very dynamic. Another example is you have a stable business, but you know that stable is not that stable as it sounds like, because on Christmas, on different festivals, your business spikes up. You are just, say for example, you are just selling shoes or something like that. All the year you have a certain number of sales, 1,000 products per month or whatsoever. Suddenly on Christmas day you have like 10,000 or 20,000 products being sold. Now what are you going to do for that particular Christmas time? Are you gonna rent out new machines? Are you gonna buy it? And what are you gonna do after Christmas is over? Are you gonna give it back? This was always a challenge to scale up and scale down. Now there are the concept around scaling is you can scale up, you can scale down, you can scale horizontally, you can scale vertically, you can You can scale in a narrow way, you can make it wider. Now, what does essentially it means? Say, for example, you have a computer with 8 GB of RAM, just an example. If you have to scale it up, probably you can make it 16 GB of RAM or 32 GB of RAM. That is the concept of scaling up. You can bring it down and you can make it again to 2 GB of RAM if you need that way. That is scaling down. Now, instead of scaling up and scaling down, you can do a horizontal scaling as well. Horizontal scaling is like if you have a 8 GB RAM in your computer, now you want another 8 GB RAM in another computer, and those two serves the purpose. That is a horizontal scaling. So the concept of vertical scaling is where you increase the capacity of the same machine, while on a horizontal you increase the machine itself. Now this is just one example. The concept of scaling horizontally and vertically can apply to many different parameters. So when you will study in detail, you will see those concepts as well. And if you find some interesting example, you can always share with us. Let's give an overview. Again, I will say this is a very incomplete overview of Google Cloud Platform, but pretty much we can talk about compute, storage, networking, big data, and different services that we have. We will be talking about few of them now in the presentation, and eventually you will find it all on the Google Cloud Platform when we will talk about this in detail. So compute is nothing but your computing process. So any machine that you think of is basically built up of three basic items. Its computing resources, the storage it has got, and then how it is networked. When it comes to storage, there are some specific storage on Google Cloud platform, and then you have some services that can run on it. The services could be a program or it could be a function. We will talk more. Now, this concept is very important for us before we even begin understanding the cloud computing. Once we are getting into the concept of cloud computing, this is the point where we need to take a pause and we need to think a little bit more in detail. The concept of local machine, remote machine, and a virtual machine. In a cloud world, we generally call it a virtual machine. What is a machine here? Our laptops, our desktop is a machine here. Now, let me begin with the local machine. Right now, I'm in front of my laptop delivering you a presentation on cloud computing. The laptop I'm in front of is my local machine. Same as you all guys, you may be right now accessing this particular session using your laptop or your desktop, or maybe even your mobile devices. Whatever device you are using, it is a local machine for you right now. You all very well know that I can, via Zoom, right now, I can access your machine if you give me permission. We can access each other machine remotely. There are different ways where you may have done it. If not, it's good to know for you that you can access another machine which is connected to network or a internet, whether it is a local area network, whether it's a wide area network or a internet or a internet. You can access each other machines if the proper permissions are given. That is called a remote machine. Say for example, you are in front of your laptop right now. If I get access to your machine, if I start opening application, closing application, working around this for troubleshooting or whatsoever, if I am able to do so, my machine will be local machine to me, and your machine will become a remote machine for me. And vice versa is also true. If you are able to access my laptop right now and through proper access, your machine becomes local machine, and my machine is a remote machine for you. Now, the concept of virtual machine is a little bit of different. It may appear like a remote machine itself. When you will access a virtual machine, it may pretty much look like a remote machine. But the virtual machine is basically where it does not exist in the way it looks like. And now I'd like you to focus on this diagram right now. Uh, so when I'm accessing your machine and calling it a remote machine, whatever appears in front of me from my side, whatever way it looks like, it is exactly the way at your side. Only difference is I'm able to access it remotely. That's the only difference. If I go to your machine and I try to look into the computer properties, I will still find the configuration which is exactly same as the hardware configuration. Whatever appears to you will appear to me. There won't be any difference. But if I'm accessing a virtual machine, which is sitting on a data center somewhere on the globe, if I go to the data center, the infrastructure will look completely different. I will not be able to even identify where is my RAM. I can see in my virtual machine, it says 8 gig. I don't see any 8 gig RAM here. I don't see any disk with 1 terabyte. Like the disk I can see is like probably a gigabyte of data, thousands of terabytes of data. I don't see where is my virtual machine and where is the machine which I was looking to. You will not find it because it doesn't look like the way it appears to you. And that is where a term called hypervisor comes into picture. And you may have studied into your classes if you are studying technology in different ways. So every machine is built up with a hardware on top of it, and the hardware may consist of computing, your other devices, and then your disk, memory. These are your integral part of your hardware. On top of your hardware, stays in a typical machine. If you talk about a laptop right now, you have a hardware. On that, you have your operating system. On your operating system, you install different applications. So that is how a typical machine looks like. So now this part you see is how your typical laptop hardware and the OS configuration will be. While if you go to a data center, you will have a huge storage, huge server, huge networking tied in together, which we can call as a single hardware. On top of it, you will have your hypervisor. The concept of hypervisor is it can logically segregate this hardware into different smaller units. So it will make you appear, it will give you access to certain part of hardware, certain part of disk, certain part of memory, and certain operating system. And it will make you appear as if it was a complete machine its own. But actually, it lies in a complete layer of hardware, which is very different from how it appears. We will talk more about in detail, and you will understand it eventually. If you have not, those who have already studied it can completely correlate what I'm saying here. Let's move forward on this. As I had said, uh, as I had said in the previous one, the very idea why cloud computing came into picture immensely was around infrastructure. I mean, this is still an exaggeration of a representation how a data center will look like if you are managing it in your local data center. Eventually, with maintenance, with a lot of work, it becomes a mesh of wires and all those complicated items. It may not be the same when it was started, but eventually you get into a lot of complex thing because the business who deal with the area, their expertise is something different. You could be an e-commerce site. You could be just imagine the Amazon.com, which started as a bookseller, online bookseller, eventually grows into a most biggest grocery shop in the world, and eventually they come up with the cloud computing service because they saw this as a problem, and they saw this as a problem for many of the folks who are working in the similar industry as they are, that your business could be different, and while you're dealing with all this IT related stuff is not exactly what you want. So your expertise is not maintaining this. Whose expertise is maintaining this? Probably organizations like Google, Amazon, Azure. They are the one who are maintaining at their best in state of art. And let's see how it looks like. So this is just an exaggeration, but at the same time, there is little bit of truth that there was a complete messy situation when it came to managing infrastructure for an organization. Now the idea came that, okay, fine, we have a concept of cloud computing, let's move to it. So what's going to happen? So like I'd like to bring your focus on this small cartoon here, where if you have an old strategy which is a mess, if you just replace your component by something new, it's not gonna remove the mess. It may look like something new, like as this guy said, that I prefer the fluffier one, like the cloud one. So you don't have to see cloud computing as a replication on the same structure. Cloud computing is an architectural shift. It is a mindset shift as well, how you approach your technology, how you approach your architecture. So we will see how we can see that. Now, this is a state-of-art data center picture taken from one of the Google's data center, and how it's looked like, how it's managed with the little movement of people physically moving all around it, everything managed by itself and maintained in a way. So question is like, if anybody can maintain a state-of-art infrastructure like this, may not necessarily have reason to go for Google Cloud Computing or Amazon or AWS. They can build their own if this is their expertise. But if they don't have, probably Google can maintain it better, or Azure or AWS can maintain it in a better way. So whatever you see right now, this kind of data center are right now currently present in different places in the world, which we call as regions and zones. And we will be talking about regions and zone in a while when we do the labs. But just to give you a view that it's like everywhere, and places which you don't see right now, they are still building it. We definitely want to understand how, if you are using cloud computing, how our storage would look like. So depending upon how we use it, you need some data which you use very frequently, high frequency access, less frequency access, much low, and the lowest, which further translates into the term like a standard storage access, nearline, core line, and archive. Standard is what you want to use very frequently. Nearline is like once a month. uh, and then if you have data which you use in a quarter, you can call it like a cold line. And then you archive something that you don't use more than once a year. This is further bifurcation. I will not get into the detail at the moment, but I just want to show you that there are multiple parameters with which we measure the benefits of a particular storage type, and which is very important while understanding cloud computing. So where do you store your data? Again, there are different terms. You can see that the idea of bringing this in page into this presentation is to make you familiar with the different terms that we have, like the object storage, memory storage, data store, big table, cloud SQL, cloud spanner, BigQuery. At this point of time, even if you just remember these names, it is okay, because eventually you will see this in the actual Google Cloud Platform, and that is the point when we'll discuss it. Another aspect is identity access management, which is taken care by cloud computing. Most of the organization, if they have a number of sizable resources, sizable participants or employees, they need to manage their access. Who will have access of what? Who can do what on which resource? This is the idea of identity and access management, and this is an important area to be managed and can be managed through cloud computing. When it comes to access management, we need to be aware that there are some primitive roles like owner, editor, viewer, billing administrator. These are the primitive roles, like standard ones. We already know who does what. I will not get into the detail here, but I would like to bring your attention to the, like when it comes to IAM, we define it from organizational level. We have an organization, then we need to have projects. Then for every project, we need to have resources. At this point, this is all you would like to know. That for any access management, we definitely need to have an organization. We definitely need to have one or more than one projects, and every project will have one or more resources. And at every layer, you will have a different access level. Now, the third part, which is very important and brings value to cloud computing, is the monitoring part. You have a system, now you want to monitor it. In a conventional world, slowly you build up a system so complex and so wide that you have to monitor hundreds of applications and dashboards altogether coming from different area. And it's a real challenge to cope up with that situation and keep a track on that. Now, how does this look like? This is one of a typical vendor. It's not from Google Cloud Platform. It's a vendor which integrates with Google Cloud Platform. And there are many such vendors like Datadog, Distress, and which will allow you to make the look of your dashboard in such a way that instead of 10 computers, you are able to get the information in a single screen, but still with proper alerting and proper information that you want to see. So the world has evolved towards, looking at the system where you don't have to spend time watching 10 machines. Rather, you get the right information at the right time, making it more elegant and state of art. Cloud function is an important aspect when it comes to talking about IoT and even in terms of machine learning. We will not get into the detail. This is just to bring you a sequence of event that happens nowadays. If you hear the word IoT, Internet of Things, every device starts acting as a node, a particular node, and that node has to further communicate to a server on a cloud computing structure, and they have to work hand in hand. Now, when you talk to Alexa and ask for a weather, it does certain thing in the background. When you ask Alexa or a Google Home to call your doctor or a lawyer, it does certain thing at the back end, and it automatically reverts you with an answer. So there are certain cloud functions running which does the job. It's meant to do a certain job. The idea of bringing this slide was to bring in your mind the term called cloud functions. So we will not take a break now. I will continue another 5 minutes, and then we will take a break for a few minutes, and then we will move on towards the lab side. So these are the key terms. I've not said to remember for you at the moment, just to keep in mind while we are going to the cloud platform, like the term like virtual machine, which we also call VM, the term instance, image, node, server, virtual server, endpoints, clusters, node pool, containers, pods, dockers, builds, pipelines, CDCI. CDCI is continuous development, continuous integration. SLO, service level agreements, service level objectives, service level indicator, latency, throughput, error rate, verbose. Idea was not to explain you all this. Idea was to tell you that, okay, these are the terms that will come across when we will move forward. These are another set of terms which is more related to technology, like JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. Curl, it is used for transferring data using various network protocol. YAML, it is a markup language. G Cloud, you will use a lot today. You will see a lot today, probably use a lot further, which is a primary CLI. CLI is nothing but a command line interface to create and manage Google Cloud resources. SSH, Secure Shell, and BQ BigQuery. These are only some terms. I'm just trying to make you familiar before you go to the labs. Okay, how we will measure the success of this workshop? Like as I said earlier, we are not going to look like a typical classroom which happens in college and school. It's a big group study structure where we all talk to each other, and the medium for us to talk to each other would be the support sheet that is provided. So you all can put your inputs, you can all put your questions, and anybody who has a potential answer can put their thoughts across it, which will be reviewed by our team. And if any addition or subtraction is needed, we'll do so. Generally, we don't have this thing in scope to complete a complete quest. We will only do few labs, but generally when we do that, our success is measured in terms that the people who are participating should be completing before the presenter themselves. Because once you know the flow, once you know how to make use of the resource that we are presenting to you, you should be able to do it. So that is how we want to measure the success of this workshop. This is a badge that you can earn, and you can add it on your LinkedIn profile. We will tell you how you can do that. We will not be covering every item for you to get this badge, but you can still do it when but we will still provide you access, which will stay for a month on the Google Cloud platform, and you should be able to complete it. You do not necessarily have to. This is not the scope, but it's recommended and advised that you can go ahead and work on the other labs. We will talk about few labs, and other labs you can do on your own. You can always post your question if you have any, and you can earn this badge. I genuinely feel that you should try to get this. Okay, this was the one which I was talking about. This is again a list which keeps on growing all the time. It has tried to list a lot of items which Google Cloud has to offer. I cannot fit it into a single page. I tried, so I'm not sure how much it is visual to you, but if needed, we can send it across to you. This cheat sheet for developers, keep in mind developers has been rolled out by Google, and they always give us the updated one. So if you want, we can always share this sheet with you. But this is also just for information that if you want to start learning Google Cloud, it may take you many years just to get everything out of it, but not to scare you. You don't necessarily have to learn all of it. You need to know your focus area, and you can accordingly learn those items. All right, so this is the point from where we will begin with our lab structure. I'm late by 4 minutes. We started 5 minutes late. Next 45 minutes, 50 minutes, we will talk about that. Before that, let's take a break of like 5 minutes. At 11:10, drink your water. Make sure that you have a laptop. If possible, get two laptops or two screens, so that in one screen you can watch, and parallelly, if you want to see something, you can do that. Or it's fine if you have only one machine in front of you right now. Let's get back at in under 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I talk about 11:10. That is EST, Eastern time. You all are joining from different time zone. So whatever time is happening right now, after 5 minutes we will begin the session. In 5 minutes, grab something to munch on, get a glass of water, and we will start again with our actual Google platform, and we'll share you all the necessary details on that. Hello all. So, okay, so we are getting to the next segment of this session today. That is more of a workshop segment. So, what I will do now is I will share a link. That link will be a step-by-step guide to apply a subscription code. This subscription code will give you access to Google Cloud Platform and the training platform for at least a month. You need to follow that step-by-step guide. If you're not able to get the code or you get any issues, we will talk about it a bit later using our support sheet. But uh, within few minutes, like in another 5-7 minutes, we will give it to you so that you can get that subscription code applied. Uh, and after that, my colleague will walk you through the different workshops that we plan to do, and I will introduce him after you have applied the code. So do not worry if you are not able to apply the code, you get some error. We will see what can be done. All right, everyone. Let me quickly share a link. Hopefully this is the one. Please check this link if this one is working for you. Let me also check it from my side. Yeah, you can open this link. This should work fine. Do not worry about the dates that's mentioned. We will also post this link in our meetup page so that those who have getting have a difficulty in accessing it via chat can get it from there. So this information, whatever we are pasting here, so we are not sharing our screen right now. We are not sharing our screen right now. I have just posted the link in the chat. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me hand over this to my colleague Ram, who is also founder and organizer of GDG Cloud Toronto, and he's a solution architect from AWS. Plus, he works a lot with Google products and services. So, over to you, Ram. Take it further, and let's go to the next stage of our workshop. That is getting their hands dirty in the labs.
All right. So thank you, Vimal. I just want to make sure that you guys are able to hear me. So if I can have somebody from the participants just ping a message saying if you can hear me very well. Perfect. Absolutely. Great. So let me quickly share my screen. Thank you, guys. So I'm going to quickly share my screen and do let me know, right? I'm hoping that you guys are able to see my screen. So what we're going to do today is we'll do some basic hands-on sessions, right? So these hands-on sessions will make you uh, kind of get a flavor about what cloud computing in reality looks like, right? Like you will see the platform, you will even spin your own virtual machine today. And in addition to that, you guys will be able to kind of remote into your Windows machine using a public IP address as well. So before I get started, like I'll just want to make sure that you guys know who I am. So my name is Ram Kumar Arun, and I work as an application service come site reliability engineering manager at Thomson and Reuters. I'm based on Toronto, and I'm also the founder and organizer of GDG Cloud Toronto. Uh, so we do events for free for the community participants who share the passion to learn technology. So if you guys haven't joined the meetup group, please feel free to join the meetup group. The benefit of joining the meetup group is first, it's free. Number two, we do events that are mostly hands-on. We do less theory and a lot of hands-on sessions in different aspects of cloud computing in different domains, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, and it's all for free. You also do get continuously like free access to the platform through discount codes and free codes at very frequent times. So feel free to join. I'm just going to ping the meetup group just once again in the chat. I know Vimal has shared this, but just in case if you guys would like to make sure that you guys have joined as well, right? So before we get started, So I just pinged the meetup group. Perfect. All right. Now, as a first thing, what we will do today is we are going to get to know two platforms. The first platform, and as I speak, I'll just start giving you the links as well. So if you simply follow through, it should be very seamless. You don't have to go through a big document as such. It's pretty straightforward. And as students, you guys should be pretty smart. So I'm just pinging you an URL right now. So let me call this as your step one, right? So click on this link, which should take you guys to a web page. And this is the list of different study jams that we do. When I say study jam, it's nothing but what kind of like a hands-on session that we are going to do today. And if you scroll down the page a little bit, you will find something called GCP Essentials. All right. So make sure that you guys click on the enroll button under GCP Essentials. So once again, make sure you scroll down through the page, and preferably please use your Google Chrome browser. And if you're on Internet Explorer, Firefox or Safari, that's fine as well, but preferably Google Chrome. So click on the enroll button on the GCP, under the GCP Essentials picture. And once you come in here, you have a code that has been shared with you. So I will quickly share the same code here as well in the group chat. It's 1s-Toronto. It's not ls, it's 1s. So try to copy the code because sometimes people take it as ls. So it's 1s-Toronto-8820. So take the code, and when you click on the enroll button under GCP Essentials, you will be prompted for a code. Enter the code here and click on I'm not a robot. And of course, the captcha service completed. All right, click on submit. Once you click on the submit button, now all you guys need to do is click on join to enroll in this quest. Now, you do not have to create an account. Simply use your Gmail accounts to log in into this Quick Labs account. It's just using a multi-factor authentication, sort of a federation service. So you're not going to create a new account. Simply click on sign in with Google. In my case, I'm going to choose my Gmail account, log in into it, and you don't have to worry about anything about a payment or anything. It's all for free. All right. So I simply logged in using my personal Gmail account, and I do not worry about the messages that you see on my screen because I have a privileged account. You might see different things, but most of you guys should be seeing the same thing. Now I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to make sure that once you log in successfully, check your URL. Does it say 1s-Toronto-8820? If you see this on the URL, and if you have successfully logged in into this page, it's pretty much like you have successfully used the code and you are on the right page. If you're a first-time user using this Quick Labs portal, you might see something like an advertisement page where a YouTube video or something. All you have, kind of like a blue screen. All you have to do is scroll down to the page and say skip the video. Once you do that, you should be landing onto this page. Now I'm just quickly checking the chat to see if you guys were able to follow through, and if it was kind of like the pace is fine and you guys are able to understand and follow through. Somebody on the chat could just give me an A or nay. Perfect. Thanks, Anup. Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks, guys. All right. So now let's move on. Now I'm going to make it simple for you guys, right? So now imagine, let me just quickly tell you what we are going to do today. We are going to learn two different platforms, right? One is called Quick Labs platform. Another one is called the Google Cloud platform. Quick Labs platform is a training portal. It has affiliated with Google, and they also provide AWS training labs and stuff like that. But imagine that Quick Labs is simply a training portal. So you log in into the training portal using your own Gmail account. And since you have used the code that we have shared with you today, you have free access. So using this free access, you will be launching a couple of labs, which will take you or which will give you a temporary username and password to log in into the Google Cloud platform itself. So it's not a training platform, it's a real Google Cloud platform, but you will not be charged when you use the temporary username and password that I'll quickly be showing you how you guys will generate. It's pretty simple. It's just one click of a button. And so we'll learn from there. So the first thing is, I want to make sure you guys are all able to see Google Cloud Essentials and you are into this particular quest. So what do I mean as quest? A quest is nothing but a bunch of labs, comprises of labs is called a quest. When you do 5 labs, you complete a quest. The quest that we are going to do today is called Google Cloud Essentials. It's the name of the quest. If you do not see this for any reason, if you do not see the same page that I'm showing you guys right now, simply go to the search bar at the very top of the screen and type Google Cloud Essentials, hit enter. Once you hit enter, you will see the first one says quest and it says Google Cloud Essentials. Click on that. Once you click on that, you should be able to log in into this page. Now, on my screen, you will see something called Quest Complete. In your case, you might not see this because you haven't completed this. This is the first time I'm assuming that you guys are logging into this screen. So if you see a blue button, join to enroll into this quest, click on that, join to enroll into this quest. So I just want to look at the chat quickly to see if you guys were able to click on join to enroll into this quest. Okay. So Mayuri, if you're not able to sign in, it's pretty simple, right? Just follow through the steps again and use your Google Chrome browser in incognito mode. I'm pretty sure that you guys are aware of what is incognito mode. So go to your browser's menu option, click on new incognito mode and start from the first lab. Okay, perfect. I see a lot of people confirming that it's enrolled. That's great. Now, so Mayuri, just repeat the step. Okay, great. Awesome. And once again, make sure that you see the code number on your URL as well, right? When you log in. Now, the first thing that we will do is we'll understand this Quick Labs portal, which I'll keep it at a very high level. I will not kill your time. Pretty much like 5 to 10 minutes, you'll understand, okay, what this is about. And then quickly we'll jump into the Google Cloud platform itself, which is a real-time Google Cloud platform. It's just that you're getting a temporary username and password, but you are doing your hands-on on the real platform. You're not going to do it in a kind of like a simulation or a emulated environment. It's a real-time Google Cloud platform with a temporary username and password. Okay, so the first thing that I would do once I log in is I'll make sure that I'm clicked on the blue button called enroll, because it's very important that you enroll into this quest. The reason I'm saying this is if you do not click on that button and if you complete all 5 labs, you will still not be earning your digital badge today. The digital badge will give you kind of like a certificate of completion, and you will be able to link that on your LinkedIn profile. So I'm quickly showing you guys on my LinkedIn profile how it looks like, so you guys can understand what I mean as a digital platform. So you can see under my license and certifications, I've done a bunch of such digital badges. So the one that you guys would be doing today would be, it's quite a lot that I have. Okay, show more. Let's see if I have, okay, here you go, right? So what I mean as digital badge is once you complete these 5 steps today, but we'll be doing the first 2 labs, but you are free to complete it. Once you complete it today, you will see you will be able to link it on your LinkedIn profile, and people can click on the C credential and it will show them that you have completed this on Google like this, right? So something like this. Way back in 2018, I completed this. So it will show you the date of completion, and you can always continue to do more and more, and you can keep adding the labs, and your LinkedIn profile is up to date. So that gives kind of like a great way to showcase what you have been learning with us today. So now quickly going back, the first lab is called a tour of Quick Labs and Google Cloud. So that's a hyperlink, and this particular quest has 5 labs. So today we'll be doing the first 2 labs, and you should be able to complete the other 3 labs on your own free time, and it shouldn't take really like 40 minutes. It should be done in 20 minutes or so. So let's start with the first lab. So I click on the hyperlink that you see on your first quest, and that says a tour of Quick Labs in Google Cloud. So now quickly on the chat, just let me make sure that you guys are able to follow through. Yes, if you have successfully enrolled, it should say unenroll, but do not click on the unenroll. You should be clicking only on the blue button. All right, perfect, guys, great. Now, the first step that I would do is I'm going to request you guys not to click on any button at this time. Do not be a bit impulsive. Let's take a pause, right? Because the timer would start immediately after you click on the start lab. I don't want you guys to lose any time unnecessarily. And the first lab is really like very simple. It's just going through basic stuffs, and literally like you should be able to complete in 5 minutes or so, right? Although it says 45 minutes, but it's only when you listen to what I'm saying. So do not have to do anything. You do not have to read anything as such. I'll cover everything in a pretty simply, like at a high level, and you guys will be able to understand. So the first lab is called Tour of Quick Labs at Google Cloud. So each lab is timed. There is a timer that will run for every time you click on the Start Lab button. So when you click on the Start Lab button, what happens is it will provision access to the Google Cloud platform with a temporary username and a temporary password for you guys. Now, I'm going to click on Start Lab button, and it says I have exceeded the maximum for this lab. So that's because I've been doing this almost for a long time. So I'm going to switch my account to a different account. All right. So I'm just going to use a different account here. All right, there you go, right? So, and then I'm going to go into GCP Essentials. All right, so the first lab, and click on this. All right, I probably have to use a different account. It's just because I've been doing this like at least a few hundred times. All right. Apologies, guys. So I'm pretty much starting like a fresher like you guys right now, right? So I logged into this lab and I'm going to click on enroll in this quest. It says enroll. You have 5 credits. That's fine. So the first lab is I'm going to click on the start lab. So as I told you guys before, when you click on the start lab, there are a couple of things that are going to happen in the background, right? The first thing that you will notice is the timer starts running. So you must complete each of these labs before the time runs out. Number one. So always when you start the next few labs, not for this particular lab, because this lab is pretty simple and straightforward. It will not take you really more than 10 minutes to complete this lab, as long as you understand what this lab is all about. But when you do the subsequent labs, make sure that you read through the labs, you understand things first, and then click on the start lab. The benefit is it will help you save a lot of time. Even if you're stuck at some point with an error, you will still be having a lot of time to fix the error and complete the lab. If not, once the timer starts running and if you start trying to understand, then you might be like losing track of the time as well. So always make sure that you are going to do this, and do not start the lab at this point of time, right? Just be patient a little bit, because this is the first time that you're understanding this portal. So once you understand this, you do not even have to wait for me. Just listen to me, understand the concept, understand the steps, and go crazy, right? Just go and get it completed. You guys are pretty smart as students, much faster than any one of us. So the first thing that you notice is the timer. The timer starts. The second thing that you will see is that you have a button on the left side of your screen called Open Google Console. This button will give you access to the login portal for the Google Cloud platform. You will also see that there is a username that has been created for you. There is a password that is generated for you, and a unique project ID that is generated for you. So remember these 3 things, right? A username, a password, and a unique project ID. All these 3 things are uniquely provisioned to you guys for the duration of this lab. And it expires right after the timer runs out. You cannot use this username and password because the cloud resources are provisioned to somebody else who might be doing the lab. So remember this, right? Now, if I scroll down, so they'll give you the screenshots. They'll explain a lot of things here, but do not worry about any of this at this point, because we'll quickly do it and then we will know what this entire thing's about, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is, you guys can start doing as I'm going to do as well, right? Click on the start button. Let me pause here for a minute. Click on the start button, and you should see that it will take like a few seconds. Within a few seconds, your lab should be provisioned. You should see the username and password. You should see the project ID. So one of you can just give me yes, so I know that you guys are able to move forward as well, right? Awesome, guys. Thank you. All right. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is click on Open Google Console button. And once you click on Open Google Console button, you will see that it simply takes you to the Google sign-in page. Please make sure that you're not using your personal Gmail account at this point. All right. Though it looks like pretty much like your Gmail account login portal, make sure that you click on this icon to copy the username. Do not click on your mouse and scroll through. You might carry some extra spaces by mistake. So always, as a best practice, just simply click on this icon. The username gets copied. I'll simply paste it here. And then go back, click on your password, and click on enter the password as well. Accept. Do not enter your recovery phone number. Do not enter a recovery email, because remember, this is a temporary username and password. But also remember that whatever you complete using this temporary username and password is still going to be linked to your Gmail account automatically. Since you have used your personal Gmail account to log into the Quick Labs, anything that you complete using this temporary usernames and passwords will be automatically tracked. So do not kind of think that, oh, I have to use my personal account, so my progress will be tracked. At this point, you're not going to use anything that is your personal accounts here. Simply use your temporary username and password. Do not enter the phone number or any recovery email, because it doesn't make sense. Okay. And if you notice, terms and service, agree. Don't worry about saying yes to the email update, because remember, this is a temporary student account, but upon completion, your progress is going to be tracked. So that's pretty much it. I'll pause here and I'll look at the chat to make sure that you guys are able to follow through and you have landed successfully into the Google Cloud platform. Thanks, Paridhi. Thanks, Rahul. Great. Now, it's pretty simple, right? So now let's go back here and let's see what these guys are covering on the Quick Labs platform. Okay, so they are talking about a Start Lab button, which at this point you guys are pretty much aware of what it does. It starts the timer. It provisions the resources for you guys and the credit. Okay, talking about the credit. Now, since you guys are using the code we provided to you, do not worry about any credit, right? But if you do not have the code that we gave you guys, you will be paying for this, right? Some labs are free, some labs are 1 credit, some labs are 5, some are 7, some are 9, and all this is from Google, right? And again, just to be clear, we are typically like volunteers, passionate volunteers, an official chapter of Google. We don't get paid by Google for anything that we do now. So we're just dedicating our time to help you guys learn something out of pure passion, right? So the credit is only when you guys want to pay something and do more hands-on labs. But note, today, since you have used this code, you have complete free access to do any labs for the next 1 month, right? As long as you complete all the 5 labs today, you have complete access to all the labs for this whole month. And in fact, when you complete few more labs, they give you additional month as well, right? So use the best, make best use of this so that you don't have to pay anything here, right? So the credit is that. The time is nothing but the timer that's running. The score is some labs are scored. So when you complete few labs, you will see on the right bottom of top of your screen that there will be a score button. So which looks pretty much like this, right? But in this particular lab, there is no score because it's just simply walking you through the platform itself. So this has no scores, nothing. But the next lab that we'll be doing is, you will see that score is there. So that's the score that they're talking about. And as you complete, it will keep showing you the score. And they're also showing you purchasing the credits. Completely ignore it. You're not going to purchase anything at this point. I see a question from Anoop. Yeah, Anoop, go ahead. Just put in your question on the chat. Don't worry about the time at this point, right? And as I told you guys, this lab has no scores. This lab literally takes 5 to 10 minutes, and we're actually doing it by understanding what needs to be done. So don't worry, you're not going to run out of time. Absolutely don't worry about it. All right, and it's a good question. Great, thank you. All right, so the next step is, let's try to answer the questions, right? This builds a temporary environment in Google Cloud. What builds a temporary environment in the Google Cloud? Some answers? Perfect. Start lab. All right. Once the timer reaches 0, you will lose access to your temporary Google Cloud environment. Is this a true or a false? So true. Great. So as you guys see, we are not doing theory, right? We are understanding the platform, and this is the lab itself, right? This particular lab is understanding itself. Some labs have time tracking, which scores your completion of hands. Is it a true or a false? True. And don't worry about even giving a wrong answer, right? You can always fix it. In order to receive completion credit for a lab that has tracking, you must complete the required hands-on labs. True. All right. Now, you have also understood what's a username. You have understood what the password is. A project ID is a unique ID. All right. All these 3 are uniquely provisioned to you guys when you click on the Start Lab button. And you guys also clicked on the Open Google Console, logged into the account. You went through all of this page, and you are almost here, right? So almost you have completed more than 40% of this particular lab. Now, let me walk you through, guys, on the next half of this. Now, I'm going to assume here that you guys have understood okay, there's a few more questions here. Let's answer this as well, right? What field is not found in the left panel? System admin, okay. All right, so if you have any issues with the internet connection, do not worry about it. The code is 1S Toronto -8820, and the username in the left panel, which resembles, is a cloud identity. True, because the student ID is nothing but your username that has been already given some roles, and that is managed by the identity and access management. That's called IAM. Now, going back to the Google Cloud Platform itself, let's understand the platform, because the next half of this first lab is understanding the platform itself. So the first thing that you need to understand is the navigation. It's pretty simple and straightforward. When you log in for the first time, what you see is called the dashboard. Now, on the dashboard, you will see the project name, the project ID, and a project number. All of these are unique identities for this particular project. So everything that you do when you are logged into the Google Cloud Platform is organized under a project itself. A project is nothing but here, in this case, it's your project ID is also uniquely created for you guys. When you start lab, the project is also assigned to you, so that you are not kind of working in different projects. So it's all uniquely assigned. How do I ensure that I'm working on the right project? You simply click on the down arrow on the top of the screen, where you will find your project ID. So the question might be, sir, I'm a system administrator. Let's assume that you're working as a system administrator and you have multiple projects. How do I switch between the projects? This is the place where you come. When you have multiple projects, you will see each of the projects listed here, and you can click that to select the project in which you want to work. So at this point, I'm going to click on this to make sure that I'm working on this project, right? So that's just to make sure that you understand that within a Google Cloud Platform, I can have multiple projects and I can switch between multiple projects from this location. That's all you need to know at this point. And you can also click on new project. There is a button to click on new project. You can click on new project, but at this point, do not worry about it, right? You don't have to do anything that is not required for you to do on this project. But I'm just quickly show you guys, in case if you have to create a new project, you just simply click on that button. You'll be able to create a new project. Now, on the left side of the screen, you will see that there is a menu as well, right? So imagine the menu is nothing but different options that you can, different features or services that you can use on the Google Cloud Platform. The first one is Marketplace. Simply what I mean as Marketplace is, remember in Google Cloud, if you're using an Android phone, you know Play Store, where you can simply go and download any app or service that is offered on Google Play Store. Where if you're using an iPhone, then you might compare it like an app store. Then you have everything that you need to purchase simply and provision anything that you could imagine pretty much, right? It could be a Salesforce software. It could be a Google Cloud API, or it could be a database like MS SQL. Everything you will find under the Marketplace. Billing, self-explanatory. You will find all your billing related information under billing. In this particular project, it has no billing account because they are not charging you for anything. And then the important thing is the identity access management. So any time you are, imagine you are a system administrator, you have somebody joining your project, you need to create an account for them. You will go under identity access management, click on IAM, and then you will be able to add them as a user. So you can add them as a user, and there are different types of roles that are called primitive roles. The primitive roles are nothing but, by default, these roles are coming as part of the Google Cloud Platform. So what are those roles? Those are nothing but editor, viewer, owner. These are primitive roles. Does this mean that there's only these roles? Don't I have my own way of creating roles? Yes, absolutely, right? So for example, you are a system administrator. You have somebody who has joined and you want to give them a system administrator role or a different role to do some functionality. So you will be able to create new roles as well. You can create roles, you can remove roles under the roles option. So as you can see, these are primitive roles: editor, viewer, and owner. So as the name says, it's pretty simple. Editor means if I give editor role to somebody, they can edit certain database or things like that, right? Like they can create a virtual machine, things they will be able to do some edit actions. If I simply give them viewer role, imagine that you have somebody who is coming into your company as an auditor. He should not have access to any data. He should not have access to stopping a machine. He should be only be able to see things. So then to the auditor, you will give him a viewer role. Now, what is the owner role? Our owner role, imagine as right now, I'm a system administrator. If I log in into my project, I have all access to even delete another system administrator. Let's say there's 3 system administrators. Let's say Rahul, Olavo, and Praniti. All 3 are system administrator. And for some reason, Rahul moves to a different company. So Olavo might be able to remove or deactivate the account of Rahul, who is also a system administrator. That's the owner role. You can imagine it as a super user or a power user role, right? And in addition to that, you can also create multiple roles as and when required, right? So it's absolutely depending on how you want to structure your team, how you want to control the Google Cloud Platform. And this concept is pretty much the same on AWS, Microsoft Azure, or in Alibaba, right? So all of the cloud platform has fundamentally the same concepts. So nothing is new to you guys. Now, let's go back and see what we have covered so far, right? On this lab, we have covered what's a project name, project ID, and project number. And let's go through the questions. An organizing entity for anything you build with Google Cloud Platform. What is that organizing entity? Somebody would like to answer that? Google Cloud Project. Perfect. Thanks, Shubham. QuickLab resources is shared with all QuickLab users, meaning you won't be able to delete or modify this. This is an interesting question. Okay, now this is shared, right? Once you're done with this lab, your timer runs out and the resource is provisioned to somebody else then, right? So technically, you can stop a virtual machine, you can delete something, but it's not a hard delete. It's just like during the training for this duration, you're just doing it, but the actual resource that is made available for these participants is always there. It's not deleted at all, okay? QuickLabs resources is the project where you run all your lab steps. Is this a true or a false? Perfect, it's a false. Now, why is it a false? QuickLab resource is nothing but a training portal, which gives you simply a temporary username and a password, using which you will log into the actual Google Cloud Platform to do your labs. So that's false, right? You're not doing any labs inside QuickLabs. You're doing it in Google Cloud Platform. QuickLab is only giving you a username and a password, right? Now let's go back here. They're just showing you the navigation menu that we just saw right now. And they're just scrolling it up and down. And they're talking about roles and permissions, which we simply discussed right now. What is identity access management? Now, one question for you guys. And they're also talking about what a viewer role is, what an editor role is, what an owner role is. We also discussed that at a high level with an example as well. We can also see if we have understood that. Now, one question for you guys. Should this role be assigned only to humans? The answer is no, right? For example, remember in Google, not just in Google Cloud Platform, in any, let me keep it in a more generic, right? In any cloud platform, it's not always necessary that Ram or Rahul might be accessing a virtual machine. There are times where a virtual machine should be talking to another virtual machine. A virtual machine should be able to talk to a web server, a database server. A virtual machine should be able to take the data from a cloud bucket. A bucket is nothing but a storage in cloud platform, right? So resources should be able to talk to each other as well. So in that case, you can assign the roles to the resources also, right? So just keep that understanding that a role can be assigned to cloud resources as well. And this is all common. Whatever I'm telling you right now, this is 90% the same. The underlying concepts are the same. It's just the terminologies might be different in AWS and Azure, but the concepts are all same, right? Okay, now test to understand. Offers quick access to platform service and also outlines its offerings. What is that? Navigation menu. Primitive roles. set project level permissions, and unless otherwise specified, they control access and management to all Google Cloud services. Is this true and false? True. So what does this mean? Let's understand the question, right? Primitive roles. If I do not explicitly create a new role and assign permissions to that, by default, I'll be giving them either an editor role, viewer role, or an owner role. Then that takes the higher precedence. That controls it. Provides all viewer permissions plus permissions for actions that modify the state, such as changing existing resources. What is that? Somebody says owner role, read the question again, right? And in a way, the owner is also a correct answer, but the way you have to think it through is choose the question and make it the more appropriate answer. Of course, as an owner, I can view. As the owner, I can modify the state. I can change the existing resources. But here explicitly they are saying provides all viewer permissions plus permissions for actions modifying the state. So that is editor role. Great. Now, they're going to talk about APIs and services. So let me quickly go back here and show you guys what do they mean by API services and how do they use this APIs and services, right? So simply, for people who do not know what is an API, API stands for Application Programming Interface. So using API, you can pull in a lot of information. You have APIs today for everything and anything, right? For example, your Google Cloud Translator uses an API. Your Google Map uses an API. So especially your Google, the conversation that you do saying, hey Google, that's using an API called Dialogflow. So Google uses Dialogflow, and you can create your own APIs. You can create your own chatbot as well, right? That is a separate quest to complete this as well. So simply click on Dialogflow API here. I'm just going to go slowly. Click on the navigation menu, API and services, go to the library and simply search for Dialogflow and enable. Once you enable, now you have access to creating your own chatbot as well, right? But remember, at this point, you're not going to do this because this is a complete quest of its own, creating your own chatbot in Google. You have all the steps and everything within this lab. That's a complete quest for this. But at this point, they're simply showing you how do you go access an API, how do you enable it, how do you simply work on it. That is tutorials if you want to do this. But at this lab, it's just an introductory lab, right? Now, scrolling down, that's pretty much what they're talking about. Now, when you start a lab in Quick Labs, you need to enable APIs in your project to start working with the Google Cloud. Is it a true or a false? It's false. Now, let's say, why is it a false, right? Now, in this lab, they showed you how to enable an API. It's simply only when I need an API, I will go and enable an API. I will not simply just go and just keep enabling APIs every time I do any labs, right? So that's false. Now, let's scroll down. The most important thing is Cloud Shell. Now, let's first invoke the Cloud Shell and I'll tell you what a Cloud Shell is, right? People who have worked on Windows machine probably use command prompt. People in which you will run your batch commands, right? If your answer is wrong, don't worry about it. You can simply select the right answer. You're not penalized for it. You don't have to redo the lab or anything. So that's a good thing that they have done, right? So don't worry about wrong answers. You learn from wrong answers as well. So now, Cloud Shell. So people who have worked on Windows knows what the Cloud Shell is because they use batch commands in a command prompt. Whatever you do, run batch commands. Imagine that. If you're running a Linux or a Mac, it's your or Debian OS, it's your shell commands, right? That's all the Cloud Shell. So likewise in Google Cloud Platform, by default, without installing anything, you get a Google Cloud Shell package pre-installed. All you have to do is invoke it. When I say invoke it, people who are, I'm assuming you guys are good students, you guys know what is invoking a function or a service, right? So it's already there. All I have to do is when I need it, I just invoke it. The way you invoke it is click on Activate Cloud Shell. right? At the right top of your screen, you get a button called continue. What happens is you are invoking a command prompt. Just like you need to start imagining, right? I have a computer, my personal computer. What do? I just go to the command prompt. I open the command prompt by typing CMD, or I just simply go through the mouse and click the command prompt. Very similar to that. All you did is you clicked on the arrow on the right top of the screen. It invoked the Cloud Shell. So in this time, don't go too deep into the API, right? All I showed you was how do you work on the API. Now just simply come back to the home page. You don't have to worry about anything now, right? Okay, perfect. Now, they have given you a bunch of commands. All you have to do is copy, paste the commands to understand how do you run a commands, right? So the first thing is you need to understand that these are not commands, right? Do not copy everything as is, although there's a copy icon, stuff like that. The first command is gcloud auth list. So simply click on the icon. Do not click mouse over and copy paste it. Click on this and then come over here, enter. So as you can see, when I execute the gcloud auth list, it gives me the account, which is my student ID, right? So it's just, they're just showing you how do you confirm it. And gcloud is a command utility that comes as part of this Google Cloud Platform itself. So there's a big document about the different commands that you can use using gcloud and what it has to offer. I'm giving you the link as well. There you go, right? So if you just simply Google gcloud command line, you will get all the Google Cloud gcloud command lines. Now, where is the power of this? Now, let's say you guys have joined my company and I'm asking you guys to create, let's say, let me take your name, right? Keshav. So how do you paste it? It's simple, right? Just copy this icon and then go back to your Cloud Shell. Simply press Control V, right? So once you press Control V, you should have that command pasted. So copy this and paste it. It's simple Control V, all right? Just imagine it's all the same commands that you use on Batch and Linux shell commands. It's the editors are all the same. The terminals are all same. It's just you couldn't find the terminal. Okay, on the right top of your screen, you should find an icon here. Look at my mouse, look at my browser. Let me close and let me restart for you. It should say activate Cloud Shell.
Oh, I got it, sir. Thank you.
Click on that. The Cloud Shell should start opening and it should establish the connection. You should see that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Now let's move forward. Okay, they're giving you a few more commands. Simply, how do you, so the example that I was talking about. So imagine you have joined my team and I'm asking you to create, Rahul, please create one virtual machine. Rahul will create by clicking on the mouse. But I'm asking somebody like Praniti, create 1,000 virtual machines. I am somebody like Amazon or somebody like a pizza. So in that case, you will not be clicking through your mouse. You will simply run this commands, put it in a batch file. It will provision all 1,000 virtual machines automatically. So that's just for faster access, right? So now touch space test.txt will create a file test.txt. And then they're just giving you a ls command to list that once you create a file. So again, don't worry about the commands here, right? There's a lot of commands you will learn as you go in these labs. You don't have to master any commands. You don't have to memorize anything. And then there is nano editors, things like that. They're just showing you how do I open a file. Nano space file name .txt, whatever the file name is, will open the file for you guys. All right, and then press Control X, you will be able to exit it. Control X, you will be able to exit out of the file, and then you can read the file using the cat command. Cat command is like the concatenation, and there are multiple use of this cat commands as well. In this lab, we are not learning anything like the commands. Remember that. That is a separate Google Cloud command line document where you have tons and tons of commands to learn. You can always, just for example, say, I want to understand cat command. Cat command in Google Cloud. Click on the command. It will tell you the usage, the different ways of using the cat command. Everything will be here for you guys to learn about the cat command. All right. So don't try to memorize anything. Simply understand that I know how to access my Google Cloud Shell. I know how to use these commands. That's pretty much it. And that's the end of your first lab. Click on End Lab. Do not close the browser. Click on End Lab. Okay. And then you can give any rating simply. And then click on Submit. Come back. Now you should see a green check mark, which is a confirmation that you have completed your first lab. This is very important. You must see the green check mark. If you are not seeing the green check mark, probably you did not enroll properly. So you have not used the code. So two things that you need to do. Make sure that you see the code on the URL ONEUS Toronto 8820. And the button here should say unenrolled from this quest. Do not click on that. It should say unenrolled, which means you have successfully enrolled. And then when you complete your first lab, it should be a green check mark right beside that. So I'm just looking at the chat right now to see if you guys are able to complete it. Perfect. Awesome. So at this point, guys, remember, I appreciate your patience, and it has taken us more time. And as I told you, it really did not take us 30 minutes. We were able to complete it faster. And the thing is, it took us more time because we were learning the platform, Quick Labs. We were learning what Google Cloud Platform is. So this is your first time. So it's literally like baby steps, right? The next lab is more interesting, where you will be creating your first Windows machine. You will be remote desktoping into it. So don't worry about it at all. Don't worry about failing. There is no concept of failure here. You can redo this lab. You can complete the lab. So don't worry about any failure passing criteria here. There's nothing like failure. The whole point is, are you learning what a cloud platform is? And I encourage you guys to learn AWS. I encourage you guys to learn Azure as well. But as long as you understand what a cloud platform is, what I do in there, what are the things that I can achieve using the cloud platform, that's more important, right? So good. The first lab is completed. Now, I'm just going to check with Vimal if there is a break for 5 minutes. So you guys can take a bio break, have some water, have some coffee, come back. We'll start in the next 5 minutes, right? And I think in California, what's the time right now in California? I'm hoping you guys are in California, right?
So I guess, Krish, you may advise.
So the California time is 9:05 right now. So okay, it's 9 a.m. It says 9:05. Let's meet back in next 5 minutes. All right. So I'm going to pause the video here. Please take the bio break. It's very important because the next lab is going to be very interesting. We'll complete that much faster than this lab. All right. I'm going to pause my video here. Be back in 5 minutes, guys. All right. So I'm going to resume and I'm going to wrap it up in next 10 minutes for the hands-on lab. So just want to make sure that you guys are back. So if I see more guys confirming, then I'll just resume it immediately. So can I have some yes? Perfect. All right. Thank you guys. So now let's just go back and let's do the next important lab, and I'll keep it very quick this time because my apologies, I didn't realize the time was limited. So my bad on that part. So it was much needed because the first lab is more important. Now close all your browsers that you have opened so far, except for the quick labs. You can close everything else that you have opened. And I'm quickly showing you how do you spin your virtual machine, right? So there's two things here. There is a optional lab, either this or this. So the interesting stuff mission for me was the creating a virtual machine. In this lab, all they're showing you is how do you spin your own virtual machine, and it should not take more time. So it says 40 minutes, but it literally will be completed in 10-15 minutes, right? There is two things. One, you can do it along with me, or you can just listen, see, and then do it at your own pace after the session as well. So I'm going to simply click on the Start Lab button, and I'm going to say use subscription. And as you know, it will provision your username and password. It might take a few seconds. There you go, right? So now, because I'm experienced, I'm kind of doing it faster in case you guys would like to know, just scroll it through, right? And all of these steps are the same. Creating a username and password, logging in, invoking a Cloud Shell. All of this is something that you guys are aware. There is a region and zone. We'll talk about it for a minute. And then they'll simply show you how do you create your own virtual machine. And that's pretty much it. That's your first lab. All right. So I'm going to click on Open Google Console. And do not log in using your own username and password. Take the username and password. And I'm going to go a bit faster because you guys are comfortable with these steps at this point, right? All right, I just logged into my Google Cloud Platform for this particular lab. And the first step is you go into the navigation menu to create a virtual machine. Under the compute engine, the first option is creating a virtual machine. Click on that. Click on create. And what is a virtual machine? A virtual machine is nothing but your own computer. Imagine it's just physically it is somewhere in the data center, but it's nothing but your computer. So what do you do when you buy a new computer, right? You just give few details, like you must make sure to give the same name. GC Lab is the name of your virtual machine or your computer. And then the region is nothing but every data center is kept in different geographical regions. If one region fails due to some, God forbid, some natural calamity, it just fail over to another region. So those are concepts that we can go deep dive. You can also Google to understand it more, but due to time limitation, I'll keep it much faster, right? So all of these values needs to be selected. Iowa, the zone is Central C, 2 virtual CPUs, the machine type, boot disk is a Debian OS, and allow HTTP traffic. So all of this, Iowa, you can choose Central Zone C. It's an N1 standard, and I think they've given you 2 virtual CPUs. So 2 virtual CPUs. By default, it selects Debian OS and allow HTTP traffic. Debian OS is nothing but the operating system when you buy a computer, right? And then click on create, and that's pretty much it. Now your virtual machine is getting created. It's nothing but you bought a computer, you set the configuration, it's getting created, it's getting provisioned, and you will have an internal IP address and an external IP address to access your virtual machine. All right, so once you see a green check mark, that means your virtual machine is running now. Now scroll down. the first step is you have bought a computer. Now you are installing a web server into it. So to install a web server into it, invoke your Cloud Shell, click on continue. And simply, okay, sorry, my bad. So before you install a web server, always, and many people make this mistake, right? So you need to install your web server into this machine by clicking on SSH, not on your Google Cloud Shell, right? You once again, click on SSH. And then go to the root access, click copy the commands from this page. So they have clearly shown you, click on SSH on that virtual machine you just created, become the root user. And what do you do when you have your virtual machine, your first time your computer, you update the OS, right? So similarly, I'm updating the operating system, Debian here. They have given you the command. And now I'm installing the web server, Nginx. And you can see how fast it is, right? That's it. And update your software. That's done. Now, all you need to do is click on the external IP address in your cloud platform. You should see the home page. So the IP address is the IP address of your virtual machine that you just created. And since you have installed a Nginx web server, that's your landing page, the basic page. That's also here. Now scroll down and remember, check my progress. And you can also see that the score is now 50. Now you can do the same thing using a simple command. Whatever I created using the mouse options. Now you can go to the Google Cloud Shell. And just using a command, you can create another virtual machine. And you can see I simply took the command, executed it, and the new virtual machine is created with a new internal IP and external IP. And now if I go and refresh this page or reload the page, I should see two virtual machines here. So they're just simply showing you how to create a virtual machine using the console, and then how to create it using the Cloud Shell command as well. Check my progress. And your score would now become 100. That means you have completed your second lab as well. The last question is, through which of the ways you can create a virtual machine? You can create it both using Cloud Console and using the command line. That's pretty much your second lab is. Click on End button. Make sure that you see 100 out of 100. Now you know how to create your virtual machines in cloud using both Cloud Console and Cloud Shell. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it for this day. Feel free to please complete all the labs. It's much faster, fun. Though it might say 45 minutes, each would take little like 10 minutes for you guys. So you can just complete it today. But thanks for the opportunity. Have fun. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn. Any feedback is always appreciated, guys. Take care. Have fun. I'll hand over to Vimal. Thank you, Vimal.
Thanks, Ram. Okay, folks. So I hope you got some little basic understanding around how we are using this platform and how we can make use of this. A few things to clarify here. First, if you not have been able to do it anything as of now, it's perfectly all right. The idea of session today was not to make you do the lab necessarily. Idea was to give you an overview, expose you to that. If you can see the labs are designed, you have two things here. One, when you go to the cloud platform, and another thing is when you are on the Quick Lab platform. The Quick Lab platform itself is just slow-paced learning structure. So you don't have to be, you don't really need a lot of other information. I mean, the recording would be there. You can practice of your own, but all the step-by-step process is already already taken care of. So you will need to redo these labs again and again for getting a better understanding. We would be catching up again. We will do a quick recap for folks who will join you and folks who were not able to catch up. As to the access, your subscription, we are hoping that you were able to apply it successfully. You may not be able to apply it successfully. We have given you, we will be posting a step-by-step process to apply the subscription code. Because in the second lab, many of you said you cannot see use subscription. It asks for the access code. You don't have to provide any access code. You don't have to provide any access code. If it is asking for a code, you are supposed to see use subscription, and you will be able to see use subscription only when you have applied the subscription code successfully. So if you don't see it, you need to apply it again. If you are still after trying that, you are not able to do that, there is a chat option on the Quick Lab that you can use and check with them. All right. So we will also share you a step-by-step document in the support sheet. All details will be shared via Meetup as well. Tomorrow again, we are joining for the next lab. Hope to see you all guys there. Thank you all. Krish, do you have to add anything?
Vimal, thank you so much. And also thank you to all the participants that joined and stayed with us throughout the entire session. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time to continue with the rest of the lab, and Vimal and Ram will take over at that point. So I hope to see all of you there tomorrow as well.
I have a question.
If it is a tech question, you can post it on the sheet that is provided.
What is the time limit to complete this lab? Today or 1 month?
So the first lab you can complete today, where you are not being marked. That will apply the subscription successfully, and after that you can do the labs later on, anytime as per convenience. It's recommended that you do it ASAP so that you still do it while you are learning it. You can post all your questions on the support sheet that is provided. Right. Okay, so that's all from my side. We'll meet you all tomorrow. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot for joining.
All right, thank you so much, guys. See you tomorrow.